You are 3 weeks from your wedding. The dress exists, the contract is signed, and this morning a letter arrived at your father's house bearing a red wax seal, a sword crossed with an olive branch, mercy and justice. You have never had reason to fear that seal before. You do now. Because in Seville, Spain, in the year
Padre, ¿qué quieren
1492,
estos hombres?
that seal
Silencio,
doesn't
no
just
muestres
summon a
temor. En
man,
nombre de la Santa
it begins
Inquisición,
the process.
abra.
And by the time the process ends, everyone who shares his name will be destroyed. Not by fire, not by execution, but by something the Inquisition's own architects considered far more effective. She finds the letter on the table. Her father hasn't seen it yet. Her name is Maria. She is the eldest daughter of a respected merchant in Seville, a man with accounts, a warehouse, a reputation built across 2 decades. The letter is addressed to him, stamped by the Holy Office of the Inquisition, Seville District. It requests his voluntary appearance before the tribunal, not an arrest, a summons. 3 things become clear fast. The Holy Office sent it, they want him to appear within 8 days, and the family assumes, immediately, instinctively, that this is a mistake. Her father is a good man, well known. This will be resolved, and then she looks at the date. The letter was written 3 weeks ago. The 8 days are already gone. If you want to keep uncovering the history they sanitized out of the textbooks, subscribe now. There is much more to find. Before anyone in the family can think clearly, the business partner arrives at the door. He is pale. He says the tribunal's property officials were at the warehouse this morning. They had a list. They were writing things down. The family's lawyer arrives within the hour. They are connected enough, educated enough, to know how to act. He moves quickly, speaks calmly. He tells them the sequestration is routine procedure during an inquiry. The property is frozen, not permanently seized. Her father will appear before the tribunal, answer questions, and the process will resolve. People survive this, but people walk away. Maria breathes for the first time since she found the letter. Then the lawyer lowers his voice and says something directly to her father. The viewer doesn't hear it clearly, but they see the father's face change. He looks at Maria. He looks at her younger brother, 17 years old, standing in the doorway. He looks at the marriage contract on the desk. He asks the lawyer, quietly, "How much time do we have?" The lawyer's answer is not a number. He says, "From the moment the inquiry opened, the contamination began." Maria asks what contamination means. The lawyer doesn't answer her. Instead, he turns back to her father and asks a single question. "Is there anyone at all who might wish your family ill?" Because the accusation against her father is anonymous. It was submitted in secret, protected by law. The family will never be told who wrote it. They will never be permitted to confront them. They will never be allowed to read the original document. The sealed letter on the table, the one Maria found this morning, is not the accusation, it is the notification. The accusation itself is locked inside a system that will never open for them. Her father goes alone to appear at the tribunal that afternoon, but he does not come home that night. What you just watched was not exceptional. It was not a miscarriage of justice, not a bureaucratic accident, not an overzealous official exceeding his authority. It was the system working exactly as its architects intended. And to understand why Maria's family was already doomed before she ever found that letter, you need to understand what the Spanish Inquisition actually was. Because it was not what history taught you. The popular image is fire, dungeons, the rack, physical suffering extracted until a broken man confesses. That image is not entirely false, but it is carefully incomplete. Because according to Torquemada's own Instrucciones, the founding operational guidelines of the Spanish Inquisition, although written in 1484 and still held today at the Archivo Histórico Nacional in Madrid, physical coercion was tightly regulated, relatively rare, and considered a last resort. The institution's primary weapon was something far colder. It was law, specifically a legal doctrine called Infamia, the inherited taint of heresy. Under the Instrucciones, a conviction for heresy did not punish only the guilty individual. It passed, formally, legally, in writing, to their children and to their grandchildren, barring them permanently from public office, from the professions of law and medicine, from the church, from bearing arms. 2 generations, legally marked before they were born. And here is what the letter did not tell Maria's family. The inquiry into her father had been opened 4 months before that summons arrived. The letter was not the beginning. It was the notification that the beginning had already happened. For 4 months, without their knowledge, tribunal officials had been moving quietly through the edges of their life. And the sequestration of the warehouse had begun, under law, the moment the inquiry was formally opened, not at arrest, not at trial, at the opening of inquiry, before a single question was asked. The machinery had been running in silence. The family had been living inside a trap they could not see, which raises the question the Instrucciones answer with disturbing clarity. Who built the trap? Who wrote the original accusation? The one sealed inside the system? The one they will never read? The Inquisition's accusation mechanism was not designed to catch the guilty. It was designed to make accusations safe for the accuser. Anonymous denunciation was officially encouraged. Inquisition law shielded the identity of every witness from the accused. Even during formal trial proceedings, the accused could submit a list of personal enemies whose testimony should be discounted, but they were never permitted to see the testimony itself. They could guess. They could fear. They could suspect every person in their life, but they could never confirm. Contemporary legal scholars who have examined the tribunal records understand this inversion immediately. The system granted more legal protection to the person making an accusation than to the person receiving one. What motivated an accusation? When the documented record is specific: a business dispute, a contested inheritance, an unpaid debt, a personal grudge carried for years, social enmity with no particular origin, or, and this is the detail that makes the system self-perpetuating, the pressure of inquisitorial investigators themselves, who were known to interview neighbours and associates before ever summoning the accused. Those interviews created a secondary wave of fear. Testify now, or become a subject of inquiry yourself. The system did not require many guilty people. It required witnesses who were more afraid of silence than of lying. And in some documented cases, the accusation was later proven entirely false. The Inquisition had a formal procedure for that outcome. It was called absolution, but absolution, under Torquemada's rules, did not restore sequestered property. It did not lift Infamia from children already born under the taint. It did not send anyone back to the parish church wall to take down what had been hung there. 3 days after her father disappears into the tribunal, Maria walks to the home of her fiancé's family. She already knows what she will find. She goes anyway, because not going would mean accepting it, and she is not ready to accept it. The fiancé's father meets her in the doorway. He is a cloth merchant, practical, prosperous, a man who genuinely liked this match. He does not invite her inside. He is not cruel about it, but that is almost the worst part. He is simply afraid. He explains carefully, in the measured language of a man who has already spoken to his lawyer. The marriage contract was contingent on the legal standing of both families. That standing is now uncertain. His lawyer has advised him that if the inquiry against her father proceeds to formal accusation, not conviction, accusation, then any children born of this marriage would inherit the legal taint of Infamia. His grandchildren, their eligibility for every profession, every public role, every institutional door, gone, before they existed. Maria asks him directly, does he believe her father is guilty? He says, that isn't the question I have to answer. She asks, then what is? He says, whether I can afford to wait and find out. He goes back inside, the door closes, and this is the moment, not the warehouse, not the letter, not the disappearance. This is the moment the Inquisition's true mechanism becomes visible. It did not need to touch Maria. It did not need to accuse her, summon her, threaten her directly. It simply needed the people around her to run the calculation, and they did, rationally, reasonably, in their own interest, exactly as the system intended. Yes. When she returns home, she discovers her brother hasn't left the house in 4 days. He was asked, quietly, without formal notice, not to return to the guild school where he was apprenticed while the inquiry remained open. He told no one. He has been sitting alone in the back of the house, waiting for something to change. Nothing is going to change, but neither of them knows yet how much deeper this goes. To understand the full architecture of what is happening to this family, You have to go back further than the inquiry, further than the letter, further than Torquemada. Because the doctrine that made this family destroyable was not invented by the Inquisition, it was inherited by it, from something older and in some ways more insidious. But the concept of limpieza de sangre, purity of blood, had been embedding itself into Spanish institutional law for decades before the Inquisition formalized it. By 1484, the idea that heresy was an inherited condition, passed through bloodlines, not merely through individual choice, was not a theological argument. It was an administrative assumption built into guild statutes, military orders, and cathedral chapters long before Torquemada put it into a procedural manual. This means the opening of this story was wrong. We thought it began with a summons. Then we learned it began 4 months earlier with an anonymous accusation. But the actual origin runs back generations, to the moment Spain began constructing a legal identity in which certain families were defined in advance as vulnerable. So the accusation didn't create Maria's exposure, it activated it. The San Benito system makes this permanent. When a person was condemned, their penitential robe, bearing their full name and the nature of their offence, was hung by law on the wall of their parish church. When the cloth deteriorated, the parish was legally required to replace it with a painted copy. Historians examining church records have found family names displayed on those walls from accusations made more than a century prior. The punishment did not expire, it became architecture. And entire converso communities, Jewish converts to Christianity, responded with the only tools available: falsified genealogical records, bribed parish registrars, altered documents. The Inquisition's response was to intensify genealogical investigation. The system consumed the evidence of its own injustice and grew larger. There is one more mechanism, and it is perhaps the most precise. The tribunal could summon family members not as accused, but as required witnesses, compelled to testify against their own kin. Refusal was itself grounds for suspicion. The family was not just collateral damage. The family was the instrument. The brother's name is never recorded. He is 17 years old. He is brought into a stone room and seated before 3 men he has never met. He is told, with careful courtesy, that this is not a trial, that he is not accused of anything. He is here only to assist the tribunal in understanding the character and habits of his father's household. Then the questions begin. Did your father pray in the Spanish manner or the Hebrew manner? Did your father light candles on Friday evenings? Did your father avoid pork at table? Did your father ever speak of the Torah, or of Jewish observance, or of the old ways of his family? He understands immediately what is happening. The viewer understands it with him. Every answer is a trap with 2 doors. If he denies everything without hesitation, he appears to be protecting his father, which the tribunal will interpret as complicity, as loyalty to a man already suspected of heresy. If he describes any household habit that could be mapped, even distantly, onto Jewish practice, a preference, a tradition, an innocent domestic ritual, he has handed the tribunal a thread, and the tribunal will pull it. He looks at the sealed record on the table in front of the secretary. He knows his father's file is somewhere in this building. He will never read it. He says, "My father is a good Christian." The secretary writes something down. The brother cannot see what it is. He is dismissed. In the corridor outside, a tribunal official falls into step beside him, conversationally, almost warmly, and mentions that his father has been moved to formal detention. Not arrested, detained for the continuation of inquiry. The family may bring clean clothes and food every 3rd day, if they wish. The brother nods. He walks out into the street. The city is exactly as he left it. The same noise, the same light, the same faces. Nothing looks different. Everything is different. Then the official adds one final thing, almost as an afterthought. The family should be aware that any attempt to remove assets, transfer property, or leave Seville during an open inquiry will be treated as evidence of consciousness of guilt. They are not under arrest, they are not imprisoned, they simply cannot move, cannot act, and cannot protect themselves without the act of protection becoming proof of guilt. The trap is now fully visible, and it has been there from the beginning. Months pass. The inquiry reaches its conclusion. The father confesses. He is not executed. The flames painted on his sentence document point downward, signifying mercy, signifying reconciliation with the Church. His soul, the tribunal declares, has been saved. He walks out of the tribunal building in a yellow penitential robe, the San Benito, painted with his name and his offence, required to be worn in public for a period determined by the court. The property is not returned. Under the Instrucciones, assets sequestered at the opening of inquiry are forfeited upon conviction. His confession counts as conviction. The warehouse is forfeit. The accounts are forfeit. Maria's dowry, held in her father's accounts, no longer exists. Her brother's professional future, and his children's, is barred by law for 2 generations. After the public ceremony, the San Benito is carried to the parish church of the district. It is hung on the wall beside robes going back 30 years. The priest receives formal instruction. When this cloth deteriorates, it must be replaced with a painted copy, bearing the same name, the same offence, renewed in perpetuity. The documentary voice enters over this image. The Instrucciones prescribe this practice explicitly. The stated purpose survives in the written record, so that the memory of the infamy shall not perish. The sealed letter Maria found on the table was never a communication. It was an enrolment form. It enrolled her family in a permanent public record of shame designed to outlast every person in this story. The letter was sealed so they could not read it. The San Benito was hung so no one could forget it. These were not opposites. They were the same instrument. One to begin the erasure, one to make it last forever. The records do not follow Maria past this point. But the pattern her family entered is documented across hundreds of cases in the inquisitorial archives, analysed in exhaustive detail by the historian Henry Charles Lee, whose 4-volume examination of tribunal account books remains the most comprehensive treatment of the institution's legal machinery in the English language. What Leah found was not exceptional suffering, it was structural dissent. Families whose patriarch was reconciled, not executed, not exiled, merely reconciled, lost the accumulated wealth of a working lifetime in a process measured in months. The sequestration alone, beginning before any verdict, before any formal charge, stripped the economic foundation before the sentence was even delivered. What the sentence then added was the generational lock. Sons barred from notarial work, from legal practice, barred from guild mastership, from tax collection, the professions through which a family rebuilds, closed, for 2 generations, by law. And then the cycle repeated. Contemporary records show converso families appearing in tribunal dockets across generations, each inquiry arriving like a second wave, striking a household already weakened by the first. The system did not need to destroy a family in a single blow. It was more efficient than that. It simply ensured they could never fully recover before the next accusation arrived.